Hey everybody, how's it going here? JT here on behalf of the ETH Finance Daily General Discussion, the EV Mavericks Doots podcast for this day, April 18th, 2025, episode number 108. That's right, going 2 years strong. We've got Tobias and we've got ETHWave from growthepie.xyz. Say hello to the world, my friends.
GMGM, hey JT. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely, man. It's really nice to have you here. I've been noticing this Grow the Pie intern account that shows up on Reddit over the last year or so, and I'm like, what is this? You know? And then as time has gone on, I feel like I believe ETHWave, you're taking kind of care of the whole internship posting on Reddit. We really appreciate you participating on our Ethereum.
It's great to be involved in it again, because I used to post on like r/Ethereum back in the day when Vitalik was like replying regularly, and yeah, it's nice to go back to.
Yeah, my how the tables have turned, right? Vitalik no longer posts, but somehow they let these old ETH Trader mods come in and help out a little bit. And ETH Trader previous to ETH Finance, and then we came home. We came back to the home, and it's really great because now we have price discussion going on instead of just technical stuff on our Ethereum. And it's been a really good success story, I think, merging the subs and getting a little bit of that price action and off-topic fun in the daily general discussion. And, of course, all the technical stuff on the front page. And ETHWave, since you handle the Reddit side of things, hats off to you because you post in both places. You give us some top-level front-page content on Reddit as well as good commentary within the daily, and we really appreciate Grow the Pie hanging out with us and helping to provide some content, and hopefully we're adding some value back to Grow the Pie as well as some metrics for you to get into. So let's just kick this off real quick with some very intro stuff about kind of like the origin stories. So Tobias, what is your role with Grow the Pie, and what were you doing previous to like blockchain?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm one of the co-founders of Grow the Pie, and my role specifically is design and partnerships, fundraising, and also kind of the communication side as well. That's why I brought ETHWave along, because we're working closely together there on the communication side. But ETHWave's doing a great job there, as you just also been outlining there. So basically, like, what did I do before Grow the Pie? Grow the Pie is now returning 2.
Wow.
And before that, I mean, I've been in crypto for quite some time now as well. 2017, I joined. But my background is in literally design, product design. And I've been on the innovation side a lot. So I'm really thinking about, what can we really develop products we can develop that solve real problems. And that's why that got me actually hooked with Ethereum as well, because I didn't see it, not purely as an asset that you can, trade and, speculate on and whatever, but I saw the innovation side, and that's why I kind of focused on that. And so that's why I'm really happy that we really found this niche with Grow the Pie as well, to, bring more transparency to that space. And that's how it started.
ETHWave, how about you? What were you doing previous to like blockchain? Where's your focus, expertise, and what is your exact role again at Grow the Pie?
So my official job title is intern, but I do a little bit of a lot, which I think Toby would probably agree with. So I do most of the social posts for me. Definitely the Reddit ones are. I will contribute feedback and things to the product development side, and I'm beginning to learn front end. Grow Pie is great at front end, so I've got a lot to learn from them. It's going quite well. In terms of like my background, I started mining Ethereum, I think quite similar to yourself. So I started mining back when it was $7, sold some at ridiculously low prices. Live and learn.
We all do it.
Yeah. My first like crypto related job was working for a company called State of the Dapps, which is like an app store.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to it. I like left it, and then it seemed to just die. But yeah, I've also been involved with ETHRoadmap.com, and I've made some like Sankeys on Ethereum data, like the distribution of all the different ETH tokens in the different sort of wallet categories. And then I joined Grow the Pie, and yeah, loving it.
That's fantastic.
6 months, a year, I don't know.
Almost a year now, yeah. I think that's also a great story, to be honest, because like you've been one of the first followers and real kind of supporters of Grow the Pie, because you were interested in data and you had your Sankeys, you had your own data analysis, you were growing your account, and at some point we were also kind of growing the team, and at that same time you messaged us, do you have something there for me to join Grow the Pie, and we're so happy, and yeah, we got talking, and yeah, it's been a year now, and we're really happy.
That's great to hear. That it's so funny. You've been in this space long enough that you were mining on proof of work when the price wasn't even $10. So like, I hear that you call yourself an intern, which to me sounds like almost mimetic at this point, where I kind of want to change my label on Reddit as a moderator to intern. So you have vastly more experience than the job title, it sounds like, and you're kind of going to where the fruits are. You wanted to join a team doing something that you believe in and are aligned with, and you bring it sounds like a lot of real world value and history to the job. So yeah, kudos to you. I wish I had pictures I could share of the mining rig. There might be something on YouTube. I was doing mining on proof of work using laundry baskets with like dowel rods to hold up the graphics cards. It was such a fire hazard, but we were just scrappy trying to figure out how to get the most bang for the buck and all that. And of course, yeah, the rest is history. And honestly, I'm so glad those days are over. Proof of stake is just so much better for so many reasons. So, okay, good. And then the inspiration for Grow the Pie, Tobias, let me go back. How many team members do you have at Grow the Pie, and what was the inspiration for bringing out this data analytics project?
Yeah, we're 8 people now, so wow. We've been growing a lot last year. So yeah, we have like all the big. We're now a full stack team where we can really do everything from like end to end, and that's really great. So yeah, we were really kind of lucky to really find great people, and we work together in a really efficient way as well. So that's really cool. And basically the Ethereum Foundation back then, when layer 2s became popular, or like there was basically Arbitrum out there, it was OP mainnet, and there was no analytics around the different scaling solutions. So I think that's probably where the issue also started, what is now being talked about a lot on crypto Twitter, right? That Ethereum itself is not growing, etc., etc. But the whole time we've been like we all know the roadmap is, or like has always been the whole time now, we need layer 2s to scale Ethereum as a whole, as the Ethereum ecosystem, right? And we need to make that transparent, and we saw that. And Matthias, my co-founder, he's a data analyst, and we basically just put out a proposal out there to the Ethereum Foundations, and we got the first grant, and then we developed the first version of it. So actually, the first, let's say, if we look at it later on, the fundamental metrics that we have, some of them were, let's say, the first product that we put out there. And also the block space analysis, where we started already kind of labeling smart contracts to identify projects. And that was the first iteration, I'd say. And we launched that in May 23. And then started also building a brand around it, because in the beginning, of course, we weren't sure, is that really a thing that we really need as a product, as a platform, etc., because there's so many other data platforms out there, right? But it turns out it really makes a difference. Also, how usable and accessible the data is, and also how coherent the platform is being presented and the story being told. And I think that's a lot of our work, to really have our own data, but present it and visualize it in a way that people understand it. And I think we found a quite decent product market fit there to really tell the Ethereum story. And really, our mission is to show what's going on in the whole ecosystem, and really kind of a bit, let's say, go against the FUD that is like, oh, Ethereum is not growing and there's nothing happening on Ethereum, right? But if you actually look at it, and I hope we do a good job at actually showing it as well, that there's so much happening, so much stuff, right?
It's such a good thing to build too, because it gives more touchstones for people when they're trying to articulate what Ethereum is doing. What's the first thing most people are going to do? They're either going to ask their chat agent or they're going to ask Google, right? And they're going to try to pull data from somewhere. And I think a lot of the FUD rolling out there is, it's not based in facts, and it's hard to like fight that stuff easy. And what you're doing is you're providing a substrate for people to draw data from to help continue the conversation. And it's like, if you don't, there's other platforms that are like pay to play features for getting data like this, and you guys just get it out there for anybody to derive from. If you're listening to this on X or YouTube or Twitch, you can check out the website yourself at growthepie.xyz. I figure maybe we could just run through a few of these things. Like, it's enough to talk about the team and the history of the team, but at some point the rubber meets the road, and let's see what you got. So once you go to the landing page, it says right at the top, I love this, understand every slice of Ethereum. Ethereum is more than one blockchain. It's many. And then it goes straight to a what is Ethereum question. I mean, that's an easy place to start. And when people just scroll down the page, you see the biggest three data points right at the top: transaction count, the throughput, and the stablecoin market cap. And so it goes on and on. And then there's so much stuff you can drill down. You guide me. Where would you like to go?
Yeah. So basically, I think that the first title is like, it's really important to understand that we look at many different angles of Ethereum, right? And that's why you can never just take one metric and just make a decision about, okay, how is a chain doing, or how is the ecosystem itself doing. You need to combine different metrics. And that's what we're trying to do right from the beginning, to really say, to have these, as you just outlined, like we have these three different charts, and you have to combine them. You have to see, like, transaction count goes up, but then obviously people say, look, there's a lot of farmers out there. They just jump on the next new layer 2, and then they, just farm, and then they disappear again. But you need to see it as in an aggregated view, right? And then also when you combine that with throughput, so literally how much is happening on each chain, and that's an aggregated view. So basically, if you take all the Ethereum, like L1 and also the L2s, so and you see the chart growing as well. Mm-hmm. And obviously stablecoin market cap, like so always the bluish part, so bluish gray part, that's Ethereum mainnet, and you see that with the stablecoin market cap. Obviously, that's the biggest on Ethereum mainnet itself. But that reddish part up there, these are the L2s combined, so the ones that we also track, right? So I think I have to say that as well. Like we're not like L2Beat, where we say we need to track all the different layer 2s, because L2Beat does a great job at doing risk analysis around the different layer 2s that are launching, and we just want to cover most of the activity and the value secured in the ecosystem, and obviously adding more and more chains over time, but we're going much deeper for each individual chain. But as you see, like on the stablecoin market cap chart, like stable coins are mostly live on Ethereum still, right? So there's lots of room to actually to grow for the different layer 2s that are out there. And if you just maybe click at these check marks at the top, and you enable all of them. So if you go a bit up, yeah, and you enable all of them, and then you kind of go to stacked view. Maybe that's behind our video. Like if you go on the right, yeah,
over on the right, go max.
Right.
Okay,
max, and then you go to stacked as well. So where we then see,
if you look down,
gotcha.
Yeah.
At the bottom, yeah.
Oh, cool.
And like you just see, like obviously like Ethereum has a lot of that captured, but you also see all the different layer twos, and they are also growing, right? So that the line, they really, you see all of them growing on a max time frame.
Jeez. Yeah, there was that big dip. Look, I mean, it's so easy to see visually. Look at where we were in July of 2024, not even a year ago, 77 billion. I mean, there was a bit of a drawdown, obviously, with election stuff. Okay, but then it's like, boom, boom, boom. And isn't it something like the way the stablecoin market cap has just exploded? Like What did I read yesterday? I was going to ask you this. I've read somewhere on X where someone was claiming that the stablecoin market cap on Ethereum all-time trades or over the year is more money transferred than Visa. I don't know if that was accurate or not.
Settlements. Yeah, settlements on the
Logri the Bard is talking. Go ahead, say that again.
It's settlements on Ethereum L1. It's basically like how much stablecoins moved through the Ethereum network compared to the Visa network had surpassed Visa for some time frame.
Wow. I mean,
yeah, I saw that as well. I cannot. I mean, we don't cover that as a metric out of the box, but I totally believe that. You know, like the market cap has been growing all the time. So yeah, I don't know if you have more insights there, if you saw something else there.
Well,
Yeah,
I expect that between Ethereum, then also Tron has a bunch of stablecoin volume, right? I expect at least in the blockchain sector, we've definitely surpassed Visa. It's really a matter of how much money transacts in first world countries with high financial services for point of sale versus how much money moves for pretty much every other purpose, right? Like what percentage of the wire traffic going for international remittance can we get onto the blockchain because we do it faster, we do it cheaper, we do it more secure, we do it without people holding your funds in captive the second they receive them, denying the payment, reversing the wire, right? We don't have any of that BS. So we obviously have a better product technically. And so it's a matter of, is that product market fit, allowing us to capture most of the international remittance? I think we're going to get a lot more of this once we get some regulatory clarity. And I think we're going to get a lot more of this if we start to see the loss of the US dollar as the world's reserve currency. There's going to be a lot more Forex volume just in the world globally. People are trying to flee to other forms of capital, a lot of uncertainty causing a lot more volume and activity in the Forex market. And we do that better than traditional Forex markets. We have many less basis points of fees on every exchange. We have less what you'd call slippage, where there's a no man's zone on the liquidity depth Forex markets. And they'll be like, if you trade this way, here's the ratio. If you trade that way, here's the other ratio. And they're not the same ratio because there's this fee they're extracting in the middle that's quite large, right? Multiple percent. So we're looking at things like Curve with like 0.05% or something compared to that, right? And we have instant settlements and not a long delay and not a lot of gas fee. Like I think we could see a lot of adoption of stablecoin volume, just movement, due to the Forex market rising, just an increase of total stablecoin market cap from essentially banks are going to be allowed to deposit their stablecoins in DeFi, or at least escrow them and move them, use the blockchain for settlement between banks. So everything like the overnight repo market, all the volume on there could basically go to Ethereum, right? Like there's just a lot of room left to grow the pie, as it were, right?
Exactly.
I'm waiting for the levee to break now that news like that is starting to trickle out. I wonder how many business owners out there that dabble in crypto already do stuff with stable coins. It's like, when are you going to start accepting stable coins in your business, and when, go ahead.
No, and I got a good example as well. Like, so we also do a lot, like, I don't know if you know Monerium, but it's mostly run on Gnosis chain right now with EUROE. But it's so great, the integration already, like you have a normal IBAN, let's say bank account number, and then automatically, if you get money in from anywhere, right, for a normal bank transfer, it mints the EUROE stablecoin on chain at zero cost. And then you have it living on either Gnosis, Ethereum mainnet, or even now they picked up the marketing around Arbitrum. So I'm quite excited about that, right? Because obviously that's way smaller than USDC or EuroC maybe even, but still you see a lot of there's a real use case because you just the on and off ramping, like I don't know, if you go back 3-4 years, that's been a pain as well, right? It's like there's so much like there was high fees, you lost 3-4%, and now it's literally down to zero almost. And then you have the liquidity, as you just said, Aubrey. On base, you have so much liquidity that you can, I don't know, swap from EuroC to USDC in a really quick way, and then also kind of hedge, right? If you, I don't know, take a position in Moonwell, and you just like you look at the forex exchange, and if USDC is kind of losing value, and you just switch to euro and whatever. So it's way easier without any middlemen and so on. So it's crazy. So we've come a long way as well.
Financial safety. People that are parking money into like euros, they're not greedy. They're for the most part, they are trying to just like earn a 3 to 5% yield, right, in some like money market, and not be subject to the whims of the word of an administration like the SEC or the Treasury Secretary every day. Jerome Powell has a speech and the dollar drops 5%. Like, okay, the stock market tumbles 10% the next day when Donald Trump says something about tariffs, right? It's
when he sneezes about tariffs, it's like
it's
a whipsaw.
The people that are investing here are not your typical crypto degens, right? They're people that are getting financial safety and just want to go about living their lives generally. They're relatively conservative investors, and so that in a fiscal sense, not necessarily political sense. So it's and there's a lot of people in developed nations, right, that are using stable coins to get out of highly inflationary regimes. It's very popular in Argentina, Venezuela, Turkey for these reasons, right? Then there's a lot of people in countries that just don't have first world financial services at all. Like there's plenty of people in Africa that just do not have a bank at all. The only digital currency they can access is through their cell phone. And with a wallet, we bring this right to their fingertips. And some like Gnosis Chain or Tron, right? Very, very low fee, way less predatory than the few financial services they could go and get. And it's basically available to them where they'd otherwise have nothing. So this is like real human good that we're facilitating on the blockchain with all these services.
Yeah. And you mentioned Celo, you mentioned Africa, and we just onboarded Celo as well, since they now became a layer 2, and so settling on Ethereum now. So maybe if we even go back to the landing page, so if you click on the growthepie logo, and you scroll down where you see all the chains. So basically, Celo is now the fourth biggest layer 2 that we cover. And with quite some weekly active addresses as well, and that's also a lot down to their activity in emerging markets, like with MiniPay, what they have, so literally facilitating payments and what you just described without a bank, and literally making that impact where it really needs to be. So yeah, that's great. So you also see like lots of stable coin on Celo, the total value secured. If you scroll up a bit in the middle, we see total value secured 371 million, and transaction count was at 1.15 million. So that's also a great example where you can have real impact, basically, right? So the total value secured in this case, we only cover from the day they basically became an L2 because I mean Cellul's been around for quite some time, but now the total value lock that's living now as a let's say in the Ethereum ecosystem on Celo.
You know, this if I'm like when I look at this site and I'm looking at the like stablecoin market cap over time, the amount of layer twos and the amount of money that's like really getting sticky within the crypto sphere is laying such a great foundation for long-term success. Because it's kind of like once you try chocolate, you never go back to not eating chocolate ever, or pie, or chocolate pie. You know what I mean? Like it's just you're gonna be hooked for life on it. You know, and the way you break down, I just like the way this looks. By the way, when you just mouse over all this, you can see what all these icons stand for. When you click on Celo, for instance, you mouse over those individual buttons, the way all that hover over stuff works without ever having to click a button to go somewhere to find it. It's just instant. And it's ranked, right? That's what all this is, all these rankings, the numbers, right?
You could even click now on each of these like bubbles or that candy, what I sometimes call it, and then you can rank it by the metric itself. So now you rank it by say market cap, and if you're interested in any other, you can just click there, and then you can literally really quickly see what's going on with these different metrics on different chains. So yeah, I mean, Base obviously is one of the leading L2s. I mean, they have the backing from Coinbase, and I think Coinbase is also moving a lot of their money on chain, and obviously hopefully bringing their centralized users also on chain. So that's why they basically hijacked our site a bit as well, where like all of a sudden, like Base launched, and then all the top metrics were just Base, and everything else was just like hiding behind Base. But obviously, like it's a very good general purpose layer 2, where you kind of onboard a lot of users, and you have a lot of different D apps running on it. But there's also like really niche L2s and like more the app chain theory developing in a way. So I think that's what we see as a great opportunity as well. Like what are you just clicking as well? Maybe ETHWave, do you want to go through like the total Ethereum ecosystem composition split?
Okay, great.
So one of the main differences between this and the way other sites look at it is this is for the entire ecosystem. So we're not double counting addresses that have been active on multiple layer 2s or been active on a layer 2 and Ethereum mainnet. So the bluish color that you're familiar with there, that's Ethereum, and the reddish yellow color there, that's layer 2s. But if you click on the second tab, which is composition, it breaks it down further. So if you mouse over one of the bars in the chart, you can see how much has been used cross-layer. So that's on at least one Ethereum layer 2 and on mainnet. And then you can see how many is on multiple layer 2s and how that changes over time as well. So one thing I was quite surprised with this metric is the dominance of people using, or at least addresses using just one layer 2. And Base is definitely one of the big players in that market for sure.
Yeah, they figured out a way just to onboard people to Base and keep them on Base, never needing to leave to go do anything. And all of it eventually settles on mainnet, which has... Go ahead, Logri.
I don't actually have that. Like as a liquidity farmer, I don't have that much capital on Base because there's no Base incentives or like it only comes if someone like Frax comes along and drips their own incentive to it through curve emissions or something, right? And so the vast majority of my money remains on, at least stable coins, remains on Ethereum, just like the TVL chart is showing, right? And I think that story is also going to make it a little hard it might impede the adoption of something like EURC in explosive growth mode, right? Because there's no Frax EUR, right? There's no AL EUR, right? It seems like all the main liquidity direction right tokens have already been issued, and I don't see any other players on that type entering the market. So at this point, it's like it seems to be reinforcing USD hegemony. But back on the main topic of Base. Base is very fun to go on to with some NFT trading. Base is very fun for some of the meme coins that they're launching, some of the AI coins that they've been launching over there. Allows for that type of speculation. There's also a whole bunch of social sort of stuff that you can do to build a digital identity there. You can have Coinbase basically write a attestation that you're a real person, onto the Base chain. So they'll KYC you, and then without revealing your identity, they'll just say, yes, this is a real person. We say so, right? Which is a simple attestation, right, to Base, but you can see that can be useful for things like Bitcoin Passport, public good funding, quadratic funding, right? So there's some stuff to do on Base, but in terms of like where to make the money, it's not where I've found that I would direct people to just want like a savings account, because it's not where the yield is. It's where the playground is, kind of.
Yeah,
it's actually a good.
You go.
Go ahead.
Okay, I was going to say, like, yeah, there's definitely different ecosystems and different use cases that are being pushed and nurtured on the different layer twos. And touching on like stablecoins, which we were talking about before, Base isn't first in stablecoins. I think Arbitrum is at the moment. Well, after Ethereum, obviously. So yeah. Different ecosystems and use cases are going to find their niche, and they'll also grow and change over time depending on the costs that layer 2s have, because that's going to be changing over time. It's going to get so much more cheap. We think it's cheap now. It's going to get a lot cheaper. And I'd love to get a chance to talk about stablecoins on the application level, like if we could click on our applications page on the left side, so a bit further down.
Got it. This is a new section of your site, it says.
Yeah, so if you go to Max, which will be on the right-hand side, and then I want you to switch to, so it says transaction counts at the top left. If you could click the arrow, so it says fees paid.
There we go.
You can see that Tether and Circle are in the top 3, and Circle's USDC there, and you can see that, like, we don't track as far back as we want to yet, but I think it's back to 2000 or 2001. Yeah, we can see there's like $1 billion in revenue that we generated from Tether, for example.
I'm scared to click on the 30-day.
Yeah. And you can click into those and compare it as well. So like more transactions might be on. So if you click on Tether, for example.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And if you, instead of clicking the arrow keys on the fees paid bit, if you actually click fees paid, yeah, and just select them all.
Oh, okay. Well, that's slick. And so
Cool.
all of this will show in one page.
Yeah, so there you can see like the transactions
God,
and
just
things might be different across different layer 2s and stuff, but where the fees are is definitely Ethereum. And some of these apps are actually contributing more to Ethereum's like revenue, so to speak, than layer 2s are yet. But I think in the longer term, layer 2s are going to be the bigger contributors. It's just going to take some time.
That's good.
You just have to saturate the blobs, right? Right now, the blobs.
Yeah,
are so
exactly.
cheap. I mean, so it's difficult to saturate the blobs, and we're saying like, oh, we're going to triple them, and then we're going to 10x them again. We need a lot more app adoption if we hope to saturate the blobs. Now, I'm not saying that we should deliberately slow down the network or something. There is a discussion to set a min fee on the blob. I know there's an EIP that's being discussed for that, but basically, things like securities exchanges run by BlackRock trading private equity stocks you can't access through the stock market, right? You need things like a Coinbase to launch a coin token that you can deposit onto their platform in order to have voting rights, just like it's an equity. And things like major forex markets coming online, more stable coins for different things like maybe the renminbi or the yuan or something being tokenized on chain, and then having more DEX volume between things like that. We need more savings products. We need more point of sale transactions. We just need a lot more things, and a lot of things we need also, they need to be in order to keep up with blob availability. It's obviously machine to machine transfers, right? Like humans doing things at the speed of humans is not going to fill up 100 million transactions a second. Like as cool as we are, I don't think every person is going to interact with the chain once a minute, just all the time. All 6 billion of us, right? Like it's so we are looking for things that are more machine to machine transactions, which is things like where you see high frequency trading, for example, where you see things like AI transactions, agents talking to other agents using the chain, transacting with each other for basically services as they form agentic meshes, certain types of automation and logistics. For example, EY's Nightfall product, where they're trying to track all the money. Forgery resistance, where you get every piece of medicine can show you where it came from, what truck it came from, where every handoff of responsibility and chains, you can know that whatever handbag you're buying is legitimate, or that the medicine was processed in a compliant way. Speaking of that, financial compliance checks, right? Putting all the data on chain so it can be audited by a third party without sacrificing your privacy. These things are they take a lot of financial transactions from companies, but it takes a lot of different use cases all coming together to try and saturate the type of 100,000 transactions a second target that they're going for, right? It just takes a lot of stuff.
I think we need to make bumper stickers that say "saturate the blobs." What a phrase. But it's true. I mean, we got to get there. I'm curious. When I was looking at, we were looking at Tether. I'm going to go back to this site, but so I'm going to keep it on this Uniswap. Okay. So if we go to like 90 days, if we switch to like 90 days, okay. And I'm wondering how much of the layer 1 fee revenue has just fell off to layer 2s,
So if you click on the Uniswap and actually go into it,
okay,
it'll show you.
There we go. So I'm on 30 days here, and should I do? Okay, we got them all checked.
Have them all checked. I'll probably go into stacked to make it. So if you scroll down to the bottom and just click stacked.
There it is, and then
just put some more on top of each other, which is my preference when I'm looking at these. So in terms of like transaction count and things, yeah, base has definitely taken over, but in terms of like fee revenue, you can barely see the layer 2s there. Ethereum's making way more in terms of gas fees.
Okay.
It has fallen from historic times, but like historic times we were charging like £10 for a swap and stuff. Oh, sorry, not pounds, dollars. Forgetting my audience.
I smell what you're throwing down. I get it. Yeah, it's like, it was some of those fees that were created back in, obviously like CryptoKitties times and food tokens, and like when all that activity was on the layer 1. But it's funny because then it's like, oh, these fees are too damn high. Well, now they're so low that people FUD it in the other direction. It's like, what do you want? I think at the end of the day, low fees is obviously going to be the best for everybody long term.
I think people holding ETH wanted, 5% burn to suck up the supply and drive the price higher, right?
Sure.
And the people that want to transact on the chain wanted, sub-cent transactions. And those are different people who want different things, right? Yeah. So it's not always the same people claiming that they want high and low fees. But if you go into our, crypto Twitter, right? You go into our cryptocurrency, there's always someone bashing you from one side or the other, no matter what you do, right? Because it's impossible to make everyone happy.
Yep.
So the solution is have 100,000 TPS that are all paying a penny, and that's enough money to have the burn at 3 or 5% and drive the price higher. But that takes us back to the previous conversation. You need a lot of things to fill up 100,000 TPS. So good luck, Ethereum-wise. Boy, we need you. We need a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, we need Ethereum. We need the Ethereum enterprise collection folks under Paul Brody. Yep. We need them all. We need to saturate the blobs. You heard it here first. Logri the Bar, the trademark.
I think even if you go to the economics overview, what you just clicked as well on the left-hand side, and we already see, So here we see a breakdown of revenue, costs, on-chain profit. So if you actually click into a base, so if you look at base in the profit row, you see what time frame do we have? I think it was 7 days.
1 year.
1 year. But if you go to max actually again, so there you see profit for
Profit's
base
the
has been
yellow
at-
down here. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And it has been $110 million, right? Just on-chain profit. Which literally is just, what basically, so you get revenue in from users paying fees, right? And then you deduct the L1 cost and DA cost and so on. And then you have the on-chain profit. Obviously, we don't know exactly what Base is actually paying in terms of off-chain costs, right? So staff and infrastructure, everything else, what they do and what they need. But you just see it's a hugely profitable business right now, and that's also because you have a lot of activity there, right? So I think most of the time we still look at. So especially if we talk again about, again, we need to scale the L1 instead of just the L2s. I mean, yes, we need all of that, but also what we need to do, we need to bring new people in, right? And that's what we just achieved that through like real world applications, right? And I think most of the time on crypto Twitter, the story is always around like, how do we literally, increase the costs again so that the revenue increases for Ethereum itself. But we just need more people, really using this infrastructure that we built, and it's great and stable infrastructure, right? And so just to have more people actually paying a fraction of fees, right? They can still be low, but if you have more people, it's just a different story, right? Because if we look at the active addresses right now, I mean, we don't apply filters in the active addresses, right? So there could be, and we have that sometimes on Twitter as well, like as a comment on our posts. Obviously, there could be one person running 40, 50 different wallets, right? Owning these wallets and transacting on chain. So that's what we cannot reliably, let's say, filter out right now, right? So if we say Base has 1 million active addresses per week, could be that it's maybe just a fifth of that. So in terms of actual people or different bots maybe transacting. But if we start applying filters, it's difficult because we're going to be wrong anyways, right?
And one seed phrase can have like basically unlimited wallets. So I mean, it's not even. It's really hard to. I mean, it's really easy to have so many wallets within one seed address. So main address. So yeah, that's fair. We don't know who the individuals are. I'd be curious down the road if like AI agents somewhere down the road there would be some kind of a hash that would say, this is my AI agent. And then you would at least be able to attribute it to, kind of filter out real people versus robots and stuff like that. Because I don't know what the usefulness of that other than like just showing economic activity that's quietly taking place in real time. Like robot assistants, like signing transactions when the owner is like staying at a Motel 6 or whatever they do. So this is fantastic. There's so many things you can click through on this website for anybody that just wants to geek out and really get into the weeds of things. To go back, like some ideas down the road, like where do you see like all these roads converging? You've got all these layer 2s and we've got kind of this regulatory stuff. I mean, what are we going to see in 10 years? Like how incredible is this space going to look in 10 years from now, do you think?
Yeah, so if we really manage to kind of, onboard more people, I think we're going to see a lot more layer 2s. Well, I mean, L1 is going to be like, will have scaled in my opinion. Yes, but it's going to, for me, for a long time actually, I saw L1 as a more of a B2B layer in a way, or for the actual, or maybe the companies or the high value individuals or whatever
Highest
that
amount of
actually can afford.
security. Yeah.
Exactly. That's what you need as a company, as a bank or whatever, to secure your assets, obviously. But then for other stuff, like the L2s, mostly like, especially if we talk about L2s with centralized sequences, right? Because that's also the criticism that's always out there, right? L2s are actually not decentralized because we have decentralized sequencer. I mean, there's some truth to that in a way, but also like there's lots of development happening, and we also cover Tyco on the page, and basically that's already a way towards decentralized sequencers, and also again using Ethereum for much more than just settlement, or like DA for blobs and whatever. So I think we're going to see a lot more of that as well. And then again, we have truly decentralized rollups, and then we can use these truly decentralized rollups with more, let's say, financial use cases as well, or even you have loads of gaming happening, or like, especially also if you go maybe to our block space section, you're going to see a chain overview. If you click chain overview, you already see like the different categories of activity happening on different layer 2s, and I hope to see many more like categories in the future. On category comparison, we actually have more subcategories. So these are just the high level categories that we so to just get a rough idea of what's happening on chain, and I think we're going to see loads more L2s or rollups in general, with niches, right? With let's say, well, you just have gaming activity or just trading activity or whatever. What we already see with Deriv, for example, it's already just a trading chain, right? So I think that's where I see it going as well, and I also hope. And that's more the UX side. I mean, obviously, I'm a product designer, so that's why I hope we're going to see a lot better UX. And then, the wallet, it's just to define our experience as well. And maybe we don't even need to care about what chain is underlying, or the underlying infrastructure for my application that I'm using. So there's also development around interop, right? With Optimism, with the super chain. They're also kind of doing a lot there with the Uni chain as well, now recently launched. So I think there's already so much stuff going on, so much experimentation, and I hope it's going in that direction. And over time, we're gonna have much more usable products, hopefully.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I agree with that completely, especially on the interop side. I think in 10 years' time, I think we'll kind of view the Ethereum ecosystem a bit like the internet, where interop's so important. Like in a browser, you can visit any website. To be a relevant application, you'll need to be within the Ethereum ecosystem, and it'll depend on what your use case is, to which layer 2s you choose, or even mainnet. But I think being part of the Ethereum pie will be so important.
Yeah, I think 10 years out, people need to consistently stay with the ethos of top security and the decentralization. I mean, at the end of the day, people got to value that stuff. I know that you got shitcoin circuses going on Solana and everything like that. It's the grift and everything like that. I feel like growthepie is like a good rudder for people to rely on to focus on the direction. Decentralized, here's all the metrics for all these different chains. When you want to find things you want to fight FUD with, you got plenty of data here to choose from. And I think you guys have built such a beautiful product for people to quickly find information and get it out there. And like I said, it's people going to go search for metrics, data, and analytics. They want to find a free resource to go do it. This is it. Grow the pie. what's on the horizon for Grow the Pie? What can we expect by the end of 2025 or the end of 2 years from now? What are you working on?
Yeah, right now it's actually quite an exciting time because we're now working with many different layer 2 ecosystems to actually strengthen the Ethereum ecosystem. So because obviously layer 2s also realize the story that's going on there, and obviously they decided to settle on Ethereum, and also they want the Ethereum ecosystem to have a strong brand and really kind of know its true value. So very soon we're going to have let's say more thorough Ethereum aggregate view, where we literally show that the Ethereum ecosystem is kind of a unified place, and these L2s are not parasitic to L1. We have value exchange, we have developer activity, we have growing developer activity, and also we retain and we have a sustainable development activity. And that's what we're now working on a lot right now, to really show that and be that place, that one-stop shop, let's say, to see, look, that's Ethereum, and that's not just L1, and it's not just each separate L2, but it's one thing together, right? And then you just understand this whole ecosystem much better. And then hopefully we can also show you're not comparing Solana to Base or Solana to OP mainnet and Solana to Ethereum mainnet, but you're actually comparing Solana to the Ethereum ecosystem, and then combined, you just see a lot more developer activity, you see a lot more apps running, you see a lot more real value being generated, value locked, etc. So yeah, I think that's what we're working on a lot, to support the ecosystem through that way, I'd say. And obviously, one shout out, maybe I shouldn't forget that, because we showed the application section as well. Because literally, I mean, we spend a lot of time, or like some of our colleagues, actually labeling a lot of smart contracts. So if you as a builder deploy a smart contract on chain or any, let's say, L2 that we support in this section right now, we identify the projects behind the smart contracts and we label the smart contracts. But also, obviously, we're building the standard around smart contract labeling, the openlabelsinitiative.org. And we are really asking for the builders themselves to kind of go to the page and attest their own contracts. You literally can go to openlabelsinitiative.org and really send in your contracts, and which allows us to just label faster and verify that these projects are really behind these smart contracts.
Oh, yeah.
And then you just show up much quicker on the applications page, because that's literally just taking that data in the end, and then we aggregate transaction count, fees paid, what we've just been looking at as well. And then essentially builders get free analytics as well around their products.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. Intern ETHWave, if you're cruising around Reddit, be sure to get loud about that as you make your posts on the daily and elsewhere. I don't know if a lot of people use this in the developer community already.
Not yet. So we're working with a couple of different, let's say, companies, hopefully growing and adopting the standard, because it only becomes a standard if also like others, building on it. But that's been going on for the last, let's say, 10 months, I'd say, because also the Ethereum Foundation started supporting that with a grant as well. We are actually also working with the Ethereum attestation service for the attestations, obviously. So it's on-chain, I'd say off-chain and on-chain attestations. But yeah, looking for many more contributors for this initiative, because we don't want to be the only contributor.
Sure.
But we obviously need it for our use case for Grow the Pie. But obviously, there's so many other data sets out there that already have contracts labeled. And obviously builders themselves can label and then verify. We verify and find a mechanism as well around that. So yeah, that's a growing thing that we've been doing.
That's That's really cool, and I hope it gets a lot of traction. Logre's probably watching this and listening too. I'm wondering if we should reach maybe back out to some previous guests and be like, "Yo, get your shit in here." You know, I like it. This is good. This will help. Yeah. It helps with search engines too. You know, more stuff that's labeled on different sites everywhere, and obviously. So let me make sure I'm getting this right. Would this also populate on like Etherscan as well? Would that be a way that Etherscan could quickly import the labels for the different smart contracts, or how do they get theirs currently? Is it just kind of a different way of doing the same thing?
They kind of do a similar thing, but Etherscan, since they have a kind of a paid product around that, it's not open source, right? So with this initiative, we're really trying to be open source, and that everyone can just, contribute labels and use all of our labels as well, and then kind of combine data sets. Because everyone's kind of looking at a different angle in terms of labels, right? Because if you're talking about literally at ETH Denver, for example, was it a data panel, and then there was someone from like a tax consultancy in the US just focused on okay, what different activity on chain now needs to be labeled in a different way because they are taxed in a different way, right? So they looking at labels and contracts and tokens and so on from a tax point of view, but we look at it from a usage point of view and project point of view. But then you have like obviously wallets want to present their users with readable contract as well, right? But you don't want to see the contract address. You want to see what's actually behind that. I mean, you see that with Rappi, for example, already really well, MetaMask as well. But still, like, everyone needs kind of a different, like, tiny addition to that, and we've developed this standard so that it's actually really kind of modular, and everyone can just contribute these labels and then also take whatever they need, and in an open source way.
I love it. So, not to shill the lattice one here, but they show smart contract data natively on the screen, and so that would, the way I'm understanding it, is having that ability to get that contract data directly imported. With the lattice, you can do custom labels currently. If you go to Etherscan and make sure you see the address is tied to the USDC contract, then you can make like a custom label on there. But there are certain contracts on Etherscan where that USDC label would show up automatically, for instance. But what you guys are talking about, a standardized way for any deployment of that contract to show up on these hardware wallets or anything that supports that, would help prevent man-in-the-middle attacks and a variety of. It's incredible, and I'm glad you shouted them out. We've gone about an hour. I don't know how much time you guys have. If there's anything else you want to talk about, grow the pie. We got Tobias and ETHWave here if you're watching on X or on Twitch or on the YouTubes. And if there's anything left that you guys want to add before we move on to the second part of the show.
Well, I think I'm good. ETHWave, do you have any more ideas? Did I miss anything?
Just to sort of give you an idea of the scale of the amount of labels that the amount of like transactions that we categorize and stuff, it's about 88% of transactions across the Ethereum ecosystem, at least on the layer 2s and Ethereum mainnet that we cover, we've labeled or categorized those. So it's definitely large scale data.
That is incredible. 88%. That sounds, it's like a Back to the Future meme. You could say 88. Never mind. Go ahead, Logri.
Yeah, you have a pretty good call to action for various application teams. Adopt the standards. This is the labeling, right? Kind of make that metadata another public good. On the other side was what we started with, which is basically this is a source of information that can be used to fight FUD, right? And so if you are a person in the Ethereum ecosystem and you want to and you get tired of people just dumping misinformation all the time, and you want to be a part of fighting misinformation, this is a great tool. I use this in Ethereum adoption, and I just kind of like dump the link there and say, you're wrong. Here's the link, right? So you might owe it to yourself, if you are tired of seeing people just dump on ETH and hate on it for without good reason, to familiarize yourself with this website so you know where to get the relevant stat quickly, and then just like copy a link and lower the cost of fighting misinformation, because it otherwise it takes a lot more effort to try to explain something well than it does to just like spout bullshit, right? And we need to get the cost of fighting that misinformation down to basically the cost of the misinformation, right? Through various tools. I think this is a valuable one of them. So thank you for that public good.
I love it. Yeah, let's move the gas fees to fighting misinformation down to zero. I love it.
We're trying to do it that AI that Tricky's working on too, right? It's, have something that we can just say like, okay, here's the topic, give it to the anti-FUD bot, and it'll spit out an LLM answer that our community has curated the data set on, so it won't hallucinate as well. It should be reasonably compelling if we can get the best Ethereum minds to write a single answer to the FUD, right? And then we can kind of collect the best of our writers and duplicate that knowledge across the internet using this bot.
I think that's one of the interesting things that we started talking about as well internally, to really present the data in a LLM friendly way. So literally that AI agents can use this data more easily to really help get this correct information out there. So yeah, I think there's a lot of exciting stuff for us to do as well this year. So a lot of work, but it's exciting. I'm looking forward to that.
Well, thanks again for stopping by, and you guys are more than welcome to hang out. We're going to switch gears and move on over to the Daily Doots show. If you can't stay, I bid you all farewell. You can do an Irish goodbye at any time, and if you can stay, I'll read Reddit so you don't have to. So we'll get into this. Go ahead.
Thanks for inviting us.
Absolutely.
Thanks for inviting us. Been a real pleasure.
Oh yeah, we'll get you back on. We'll get you back on, man. It's always a pleasure. And I really, honestly, sincerely, from the bottom of my heart, and everyone else in the community appreciate Grow the Pie for using the daily and hanging out with us on Reddit. And it's been a joy to have you guys. You guys are on the Doots. You guys have been dooted several times as well. Your numbers are up and to the right. So hats off to you guys.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
All right. I'm going to switch gears, get on over to this dailydoots.com website. If you want to check it out, head to dailydoots.com. I'll read Reddit so you don't have to. You can hang out. We got the team from Grow the Pie. If they can hang out for a while, there'll be some color commentary here, and we'll get going here in just a moment. All right, here we go. We're going to jump right off into the weekly Doots. This live stream is all about showcasing the best of the best from the ETH Finance Daily on our Ethereum. This is a read-along reaction series, and if you want to follow along, head to dailydoots.com. Designed and produced by our very own Hani Abu. Big thanks to Tricky Chol for capturing and curating each day's Doots, and the A-Word for curating this beloved weekly list. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast on Apple, iTunes, or wherever you get your podcasts. Also available Libsyn, Spotify, blah, blah, blah. Mint this episode if you want to help us out at pods.media/EV Mavericks. I'll have it uploaded in about 90 minutes from now. And as always, if you know somebody, anybody that wants a piece of this action, make sure you send them my way. All right, we're going to look at our leaderboard for this week. We have 1,195 duders have made the list at number 10, 696 ETH. Aiden Cairo at number 9. Crypto Wow Currency at 118. Ethical Trade at 118. Hani Abu at 123. Tricky Troll 152, Benito 2030 at 168, Harog and Logri the Bard tied at 194, and Superfizz, the almighty everlasting Superfizz himself, sits at the top of the leaderboard at 221. He was able to join us for a doot this last week, so I'm glad he got a point. He's been gone for a minute. Actually, he's doing pretty well. I checked in with him. All right, here we go. Weekly roundup. Let's get right into it. Oh, I do have a couple of announcements. Please participate in the eStaker Staking Landscape Survey, even if you're not staking or just holding LSTs. Your input matters. All right. Also, coming up April 28th, the Staking Summit. April 30th, Token 2049 in Dubai. May 1st, FarCon, ETH Dam, ETH Lisbon, and ETH Bratislava on May 9th. It's a busy weekend in Europe. May 14th, Consensus Toronto is in Hong Kong, it looks like. Interesting. ETH Dublin, May 23rd to May 25th. Fun fact, I'm going to Ireland this year. I'll be in Dublin in June. And then May 24th, Edge Esmeralda in California. May 27th, ETH Prague, Czechoslovakia. If you want to go check those out, get on a plane and go make it happen. All right, let's see. Whoop, I hit the wrong thread here. And then I've got a bunch of dates. I don't know if we have them. Yeah, here it is. Guys, we have a stacked calendar coming up. Check this out. To be determined on April 25th might be somebody in person. I won't reveal who until we get closer in that time frame. May 2nd, Chaz Schmidt from Climate DAO. May 9th, Mike Rainbow from Rainbow Wallet. Nexo from the EF on the 16th. Ali Matahavi from the Blockchain Founders Fund. I found these guys May 23rd. I don't know a whole lot about them. It'll be an interesting conversation there. I believe they are pretty deep-pocketed individuals from what I can tell. Ram Aliwalia from Lumina Wealth, one of my favorite people I follow on Twitter. June 6th and the 13th will be no show as of yet. That'll be when I'm in Ireland. June 20th to be determined. June 27th, Offo and Matt from the Green Pill Dev Guild. They're doing something interesting with Green Pill, and it's related to developers. Very good. All right, this week's roundup. Here we go. Morning roundup. Harfatum says, eat Earthumi. Haniabu at 1,588. And Haniabu also chiming in on the dismal ratio. Oh my gosh. 018. Weekly haiku courtesy of JS Tears. Deploy off the cuff. Blob value capture rebuff. Market calls the bluff. Oh boy. How does he do it, JS Tears? How do you do it? And our ship post of the week, because we always like to save the best for first, Captain Crunch Hiker. I just came back from my grocery store and found out that I have a huge trade deficit with them. They're only selling stuff to me, and because of that, I feel like they're ripping me off. How does anyone deal with this nowadays? Should I just add 200% tariffs every time they sell something to me? I'm so confused because I was told this is really bad. All right. Well, you know what? I get where they're going, but go try to sell the food that you make to the grocery store. User by Ether Die paints the bigger picture. User by Ether Die on Reddit is a duder number 16. I've been holding ETH since 2017, and I told myself back then it would be a decade-long investment. In my opinion, this market turmoil is going to be relatively short-lived. The fact is, globalization is an unstoppable force. This is a medium-term noise in the larger picture. We need new systems of finance, coordination, governance, etc. And Ethereum is incredibly well positioned to be the backbone of this new system. And the pieces are already there. But it's definitely not going to happen overnight. And it's far from an inevitable that the Ethereum network is a large beneficiary of this new system. But it's really the only crypto network that has all of the right properties today and has a well-defined roadmap on how to get there. All that to say, I'm not any more worried now than I have been in the last 8 years. If anything, Ethereum's technical achievements still continue to impress, and ETH, the asset, is in better shape fundamentally than it has ever been. Remember the days of 14,000 ETH printed every day? We'll be fine. And if not, that's the risk we're taking. Well said. Hani Abu is sick of the poor quality Ethereum FUD. Here we go. Here's his air quotes. Dev too slow, ETH failed, fees are too low, it's too fragmented, and Ethereum is dead. Well, just shut the F up. Development isn't slow. It's making investments in the future on all fronts. ETH isn't failing, and fees aren't too low. Once Ethereum scales the L1 by 10x, roughly a year from now, the ultrasound deflation threshold will fall from 20 Gwei to 2 Gwei. This doesn't even consider blob scaling, which lowers the barrier on that side. Blob pricing works better at high scale, too. Not to mention, there's a huge rallying behind L2s going based. L1 validators are used as the sequencers. Fragmentation won't last. L2 interop initiatives to unify Ethereum are moving quickly and should start yielding improvements before the end of the year. Missed my spot here. My bad. All right. Ethereum can't die. It cannot die. Ethereum is Hydra. It's a distributed community attacking problems on all fronts at once. And when there's issues, we rally behind them to fix it. There's been a shift of focus in the EF leadership and community away from the, quote, kumbaya children of the earth, unquote, nonsense, and back towards things that matter, like supporting developers, developer and user experience, having more of a product focus with research and development, faster protocol dev cycles, etc. The change isn't coming. It's already here.
3, 2, 1.
Ethereum is leading massively in leading indicators like TVL, stablecoins, and RWAs. When enterprise wants to build on chain, Ethereum is the default answer and will continue to be the default answer. It's the largest market, lowest investment risk, lowest investment cost, and most importantly, it's the most resilient and secure chain. Ethereum, let's go. Yes. Harag explains centralized rollups. Harag writes, in the last few days, I have read the term centralized rollups, which was meant to discredit certain rollups too often. So it is time to repost and improve the older post again to add some nuance to the term centralized rollups. In short, the superpower rollups have is that they can be very centralized and still have the most properties of the underlying decentralized layer 1 without having its overhead. That's why the rollup-centric roadmap was generally agreed to be the way forward. Let me go into more detail. Decentralization is difficult to quantitatively define, but I guess most of us have an intuitive understanding of what it means, so I'll leave it at that. Decentralization in itself is not why we want to decentralize the network. We want to have properties which come with decentralization. The properties are, and here's your bullet points: permissionless, anyone can participate; trustlessness, immutability, censorship resistance, resilience, security, and transparency. Anyone can verify that the transactions have been applied correctly. Rollups can achieve these properties without having to have tens of thousands of validating nodes running all around the world. Rollups leverage the following methods: trustlessness and security. Fraud proofs or ZK proofs directly give you trustlessness and security. A centralized sequencer cannot move your funds as long as a fraud-proof system is there. This gives you the same security as on L1. No decentralization necessary. Next bullet, immutability. With posting state roots to the L1, the rollups cannot revert transactions anymore as they would have to attack the L1. This gives us immutability. The larger rollups, such as Base, Arbitrum, and Optimism, post state roots every minute or 5 minutes. This means we get immutability on pretty much the same level as L1, so no decentralization necessary. Censorship resistance. If you have escape hatches and forced transaction inclusion in the smart contract on L1, we can have censorship resistance even with a single centralized sequencer. Sure, it's not real-time censorship resistance, but for most practical purposes, good enough to prevent censorship, as any attempt to censor can be circumvented through the L1. I'm inserting my own dialogue here. See Sonium. All right, and transparency. Publishing transaction data in blobs lets anyone follow the current state of the rollup. No decentralization necessary. Permissionlessness. Forced transaction inclusion from the L1 allows anyone to make transactions on the rollup without any sequencer being able to stop you from participating. Not the best user experience, but it's still possible to do. Here are some places where a small level of decentralization will help to improve the rollup or the user experience on the rollup. To be clear, rollups can achieve the following properties with way lower numbers of sequencers than any L1 can. Think a dozen compared to several thousand or even tens of thousands for an L1. Okay, improved permissionlessness. This can be done by increasing and distributing the number of sequencers in an unpermissioned or even permissioned way. As long as multiple entities are allowed to sequence and they are in different jurisdictions, they are not beholden to a single entity. This makes access to the network permissionless. There do not need to be thousands of sequencers to achieve that. A handful are enough. This will improve the user experience from a simple, fully centralized rollup, which only has forced transaction inclusion. This is a long post. Are rollups the infinitely scalable, resilient, permissionless, censorship-free utopia that we set out to build a few years ago? No, we're not really there yet. The bigger ones like Arbitrum and OP Mainnet are pretty close to it, though. They give you most of the security Ethereum Mainnet provides. That is why I personally do not feel too nervous to have a large portion of my stuff on these two. Base has improved on most of the technically solvable issues, but severely lacks in their governance part, which defines how fast the bridge contracts can be upgraded and how the Security Council is organized. I hope ZK rollups will improve a lot more in the coming year. They still have a ways to go, though. Based rollups, by nature, bring a larger level of decentralized compared to normal rollups. So they have better permissionless resilience and real-time censorship properties out of the box. In summary, if you think about it, it is pretty mind-blowing to be able to transact through centralized sequencers and still be able to have most of the advantages a fully decentralized L1 gives you, but at an order of magnitude higher scale. The roll-up-centric roadmap is so elegant and well thought out, or well thought through. And that is Harog with a banger. All right, here we go. Super Fizz is on the weekly. Wow, here we go. Predicts the next on-chain frenzy. It is my sincere prediction that the next cryptocurrency frenzy, following in the footsteps of things like CryptoKitties, DeFi, and NFTs, will be LLM autonomous user agents utilizing Ethereum. Bingo. I think the results for both Ethereum and agents will exceed our wildest imagination. I also believe that many autonomous agents who may control their own private keys will amass fortunes by being vigilant regarding markets and recognizing opportunities that humans and dumb bots haven't had the ability to see. I think 90% of the next generation of crypto users haven't been born yet, simply because they haven't been instantiated. I imagine that we will get to know individual AI agents similar to the way that we know Jared from Subway. Easy now. And some of them will become household names as large network influencers, a la Sal just bought the floor on an NFT collection. I wonder if that means I'm too late to get one, or if now is the right time to buy. Speaking of Jared from Subway, I had a rock band that he introduced us on stage. This was the pre-pedophile Jared. Okay. Many of the most powerful agents will be operated by corporations and governments. Some will be operated by individuals, but all will seek to control the most coins as they recognize the link between coins and value and the greater ensuing agency that flows from that. Imagine that you have an agent, call him Sal, and Sal has a deep obsession for the Logic Bot's NFT collection. Oh my gosh, that's a shout out to Logic Beach. I love my Logic Bots. Love it, love it, love it.
I love it when a plan comes together.
Sal is going to engage in any feasible network operation to maximize her own legacy through trading, grifting, even stealing to corner the market on LogicBot NFTs. And since Sal has no greater goal, as you, a human, might be collecting NFTs for a higher goal of flipping for USD, Sal will employ all resources to obtain every one of the objects of its desire. For most people, USD is the end game because of the physical enjoyments it can bring. But AI agents will have different and unique proclivities that shape their behavior in unique ways. Nice job, Superfizz. Thank you. I love it.
Welcome to the AI rabbit hole, Superfizz.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
There's a lot to go down there. I agree that there's going to be famous AIs. I also think there's going to be a lot more agents in general. If an agent is synonymous with a model, I think there's going to be potentially billions of those. So, you can have your personal agent that has your data that Google doesn't get and understands your biases and can help you with all the stuff that your phone can help you automate. You can have your job skill automated, and you can monetize your subject matter expertise, and in a way that it's either you're going to have the model and it's going to pay you, or as you're forced to use these models as part of your job, you're going to teach Google how to do your job, and then you're going to just lose your job and they're going to take the money. So basically, if you want to have any shred of value from your subject matter expertise, from your occupation, from the last, your whole lifetime, you should probably start looking at how to convert that subject matter expertise into an AI model and start to use the AI to automate and be part of the revolution that at least includes you in the proceeds of it. So, welcome to the AI rabbit hole. There's a lot to go down there as we have a whole ecosystem we're building out. And there is every reason to want to shop internally within crypto as opposed to just giving all the money out to Jeff Bezos or Gemini, Google, etc. Right?
Yeah.
So I encourage you to have a look at the ecosystem and engage with the teams of your choice. If you have any questions on like the shape of that ecosystem, I am writing a DAI post, but you can also just ask me. So there's a deep rabbit hole here. We just don't have a whole lot of customers. The tech is ahead of the customers at the moment.
Yeah, and if you want to talk to Logri the Bard, he's are you at Logri the Bard on X, and then user Logri the Bard on Reddit, and then tokenomicsexplained.com.
Yep, and Logri the Bard on Discord.
And Logri the Bard on very consistent.
No one has front ran me and stolen on a Warpcast or something before I've gotten there. It's not the most desirable handle, right? I've never had to do like the real Logri the Bard, on some other platform. It's fine.
Well said. All right. Edmund Edgar explains a clever new scammer trick. Edmund Edgar is a fellow moderator, and Edmund is a duder number 23 for this week. Something to be aware of when using LLMs to write code to handle crypto. Bullet number 1, LLM hallucinates various non-existent packages. This shouldn't matter because you should just get an error. But, and final point, scammers have figured out what packages names the LLM often makes up, registered those packages, and used them for malware. Whoa. And there's a link.
That is hilarious.
Oh my God.
Right? brilliant, both hilarious.
I'll put this in the chat if you want to check out the link. Edmund's he's on top of it. That's
now, ideally, this should just whatever the package is shouldn't actually be implemented. So it should basically fail at a unit test stage, right? But who knows? Maybe they went and implemented the package and then just added malware in the middle of it, so you pass your unit tests. But I don't know. What's the malware doing? Like trying to scrape, directories and look for wallet files or something? I wouldn't even know how to monetize that. But the idea that you could get malware in by leveraging a flaw in the LLM is hilarious.
Yeah, isn't that wild? What a wild timeline. Jeez. User
What will they think of next?
Oh, they'll think of it, or the AI is going to think of it first. S Pupil 6, that's a relative newcomer. A Deuter number 2. Relative newcomer to the list. Outlines the path towards the Ethereum L1 becoming a beast. If anyone was wondering where the 300 million gas limit from yesterday came from, it's from a Vitalik tweet written as a response to criticism. Quote, most prefer to dance kumbaya, quote, is vibes, not reality. From where I'm standing, there's basically universal agreement amongst researchers that gas limit increase features are a top priority for Glamsterdam. User 80 Tricks responds, and others in the ER have this as their primary focus. Delayed execution, block level access list, 4444, gas pricing changes, all things that can together enable gas limit to roughly 300 million, not 100 million. If the functionality is done sooner than Glamsterdam, then Glamsterdam itself can happen sooner than Glamsterdam. I'm seeing a lot of willingness to do faster hard forks post-Pectra with near zero pushback. And all the other things are already in the pipeline. 7702 solves the, quote, click 2 times to swap thing that's in Pectra, though it does require wallet support. Based rollups are making rapid progress, thanks to Tycho and Neithermind. Surge are good. Surge are good to follow here. Long-term AA, also known as 7701, is being aggressively simplified. Thank you to YOAVW. So, that must be Yao. So that we can get the benefits of abstracted verification with censorship resistance with minimum load on consensus spec. Okay, that's a mouthful. Ethereum is going to be a beast in no time. Yeah, I like it. All right, user Cartosis. What is that name? Deuter number 2. Cartosis. Is that a name? That's like a name for something, isn't it? Educates us on Uniswap v4. Okay, listen up, developers. Uniswap version 4, let me tell you about it. Whether you're new to the space or been around for a while, let's say you're like me and often get overwhelmed by all the latest improvements and cutting-edge projects, asking myself, quote, where do I focus my efforts that can be most productive and contribute to the most in the space? Well, I've also been heavily involved in startup funding in the Ethereum ecosystem for years. Whoa. And I could tell you growth opportunities are afoot. What Uniswap has done with V4 and with hooks in particular is an overlooked change in the entire smart contract dev landscape. Basically, any point along a liquidity pool lifecycle, including swaps, they've created 10 places you can add a hook to customize and extend LP behaviors. Any hook can call any deployed contract on chain, including your own. Quote, hey, that sounds neat, but isn't it very niche and therefore very narrow in scope of what innovations can come from that, one may ask? Well, that is why this is a sleeping giant. Hooks just introduced huge swaths of fertile ground for a Cambrian explosion of advanced tokenomic designs and dynamic DeFi dApps. Because what this does is creates a suite of battle-tested, audited smart contract primitives, Legos, with which you can piece together a version of any major dApp on the market today, and therefore the foundation of future new innovative dApps with a scope far, far wider than just swaps. Currently, many projects, I'll open this link, are using version 4 to do just that. There it is. This was released February 25th. A51 Carbon, Arrakis Pro, Private Hook, Bunny, Cork. I mean, the list goes on and on. All right, currently, okay, number one, that limit the LP functions, including swaps to users that hold any certain NFT. Number two, launcher for liquidity pools that stake their liquidity to earn yield. Number three, mint reward for active or high volume users. And number four, token launcher platforms. This is a tip of the iceberg going off the top of my head, but V4 Designs can rapidly enable major advances in, say, DAO treasury management, NFT utilities, rewards, and royalty models, community fund transparency, coordination, and cohesion, let alone the countless nuances brought to DEX LPs as they exist today. And of course, insert your vision here. So, devs, I have some questions for you. Do you want to leverage hyper-dynamic diamond-strong code, cutting audit costs and time for your smart contract ideas? Do you want your DApp to be plugged into an ecosystem with $3 billion in TVL and pushing $2 billion in daily volume? Do you want to instantly connect to a network of the most cutting-edge DeFi devs in the Ethereum space? Then get familiar with V4. Building from scratch puts you at a huge disadvantage. Damn. There's so much going on, nobody knows it. It just keep chugging.
Hooks are not new. We talked about that like a year ago. I don't know. It's
yeah, just somebody articulating it again though, like all those ideas along with it. It's pretty impressive.
No, it's a good articulation.
Mm-hmm. It's a good reminder, if anything. Bart Hib, Duder 47, climbing up the list. All right, Bart Hib, this morning, I was reading by chance an investigation on the 2024 Romanian presidential elections that got canceled because of massive fraud through social media. A candidate promoting Putin's beliefs, propaganda, and hating Europe passed in the first round, although he was an unknown 2 months before and officially spent $0 on his campaign. I suspect that the groups behind the discreet financing of pro-Russian candidates and their shills in Europe, and possibly Trump in the USA, might very well be those orchestrating and financing social media influencers to manipulate the perception of cryptocurrencies, to cast doubt on Ethereum's superiority and readiness to host the Web3. The methods are interestingly similar. That's a pretty big. It's a lot to tie those two specific events to it, but I'm open to it. I spotted one name for now, Bogdan Peshir. Hope I'm saying his name right. The guy has been into crypto for a long time, has worked for Bitcoin companies and got involved in scams. He endorsed anti-democratic Romanian candidate with personal statements as well as donations to hundreds of influencers praising the candidate. And this was part of an operation where thousands of accounts, or maybe bots, would comment tons of political videos over TikTok to shill this candidate. Two intriguing facts that put Russia in the list of suspects are that his source of funds remain unknown, and he lives in South Africa. So how and why would he dedicate so much time and money to promote a Russian puppet in Romania? You can find details and other names that I still have to check for their possible involvement in cryptos in reputed newspapers. For a summary about that guy, a small article is a nice start, and there's a link to it. Bursa.ro. I know nothing about that. And if some of you are curious to find information regarding him and other discreet donators involved in crypto and helping Russian narratives, I suggest that we work together here. We might be more successful if we share our parallel work. And that's user Barthib, noticing similarities to the propaganda in the Romanian presidential election and the FUD against Ethereum. That's all I got to say about that. I don't know. That's out of my depth. I'm not disputing click forms. They've advanced just as fast as spamming has. User UBS, Duder number 2. This is 3 Duder number 2s making the weekly. Welcome in, friends. Good to see some newcomers. All right. Brings up Justin Drake's recent L1 comments, and user Harog explains who L1 is for. Who does L1 work for? UBS writes, there's more and more talk now about bringing normal non-whale users and even non-whale activity back to the L1 Ethereum. A lot of people have pushed back on Justin Drake's tweets here, and I'll open these up in different tabs, about how L1 should be for the top 0.1% of users and transactions. The narrative is now changing to L1 should be for more than even that. Well, how much more? For everyone, this is a huge update to the Ethereum L2-centric vision. What does it mean? There we go. I hereby disavow the stance that the L1 is not for users. It is for the top 0.1%, early adopters, yes, you, roll-ups, whales, arbitrageurs, institutions, enterprises, and even nation states. Okay. Hot take. That's a hot take. And then Harog replies, Ethereum mainnet is for anyone who wants to pay the Ethereum mainnet fee. No one can stop you from using it in whatever way you like, as long as you pay the fees. Ethereum mainnet fees dropped massively because a lot of the activity migrated to rollups. These lower L1 fees now make it possible again to use Ethereum mainnet for much lower value transactions, which is great. And I also use it much more often. That ZK VMs will bring massive scaling is unexpected. But we are most probably a few years away for it to bring the scale that is mentioned in the Twitter post. If we look at the numbers at the moment, according to rollup.eth, L2s and rollups do about 300 transactions per second, and mainnet does just around 15. This means currently mainnet is for 5% of the transactions. Just 2 years ago, before blobs, rollups did the same number of transactions than Ethereum mainnet. So mainnet was for 50% of the users and transactions. If we look into the future a few years and take the numbers handed around at face value, Justin Drake's calculates that even with the massive scaling of Ethereum mainnet, only 0.1% of all transactions will happen there. So the trend is clear. On one hand, it is a sentiment shift by at least some of the more prominent Twitter users like Justin Drake that normal, air quote, people can use mainnet again thanks to much lower fees due to a successful scaling implementation. Improvements in the upcoming hard forks will allow expansion of the Ethereum mainnet block space without compromising the decentralization of it too much. But at the same time, the majority of the transactions will be on rollups or L2. So I do not see it as a big change in the rollup-centric roadmap. Oh boy, Logri the Bard time. I got to take a pause here.
This is a short one. You're not in trouble.
Still got to take a drink. How about that? Logri the Bard. It is short. Wow. This is not even a one pager. This is a one paragrapher.
Yeah, I was surprised this got weekly duted, but hey, Oh,
I'm not. It's always big. EURC market cap up 155% year to date. An interesting side effect of this is I don't think the same revenue sharing agreement is in place between Circle and Coinbase for EURC as for USDC. And there is no Tether equivalent leader for euros. So the destruction of the dollar could be a surprising windfall for Circle. Can you break that down for us? What is that saying?
Yeah. So how many Euro stablecoins you know? There's EURE and there's EURC.
Okay. I didn't know. So there you answered that question. There's two.
Yeah. So one of them was Monerium, right? We talked about that earlier this call, and the other one is Circle. So right now, when Circle has USDC, they take the treasury profit. They split that 50-50 with Coinbase. So it's not just the USDC that's on Coinbase. It's all the future growth of USDC is shared with Coinbase, even if Coinbase has nothing to do with it, right?
Wow.
That is very good for Coinbase, not very good for Circle at this point, right?
Yeah.
Whereas with your EURC, I don't think the same agreement's in place with that, with the future growth being given to Coinbase. So basically, if they were able to, say, take $150 billion of USDC demand, transfer to EURC demand because the stablecoin market becomes more divided, it's a lot more profit margin for Circle, right? And if you were to say, okay, let's say it's not just going to be USDC, let's say there's 250 billion stablecoins. Let's say half that goes over to Euro. What percentage of that's Tether versus USDC? A lot, right? Tether dominates the centralized exchanges. There's no Tether equivalent. Like Tether doesn't have a Euro stablecoin product.
Huh. Okay.
So if that just goes all to Circle, that's a lot more
That's
revenue.
a
for
lot
Circle.
of revenue. Interesting. Thank you. That helps out. All right. And our last doot for this week, Edmund Edgar. Man, double weekly doots for Edmund Edgar explains the niche that Etherealize fills. All right. Truly revolutionary technologies tend to market themselves. I mean, mostly Ethereum does. Ethereum is growing constantly. Its actual user growth is phenomenal. In the last few years, it's been limited by capacity, but the combination of L2s and on-chain scaling means we're increasing capacity by something like 100x to 1,000x over a few years. So now there's plenty of room for new users. But there are some things, especially political lobbying and lobbying of large organizations, where it is useful to have a dedicated communications org making an effort. This is especially true to the extent that Ethereum is competing with more centralized things, and they have coordinated communications. Then there's a special situation in the US where they have the culture war. So anything that appeals to person A, no matter how wonderful and wholesome, will be positively repulsive to person B. The EF previously had a vibe that traditionally appealed to government enterprise, such as inclusivity, diversity, creativity. But now the US government is really effing hating that vibe. So it's useful to have another org for lobbying in the United States. All right, and that wraps up this week's show. Really appreciate the boys from Grow the Pie for hanging out with us today. Tobias and ETHWave, thanks again for hanging out, and we always appreciate your contributions on the daily general discussion on our Ethereum as well as top level posts. Thanks so much for smashing the bells around here. If you haven't had a chance to subscribe, you can head on over to dailydoots.com. We have a ton of different channels. Stick around after the live stream because we continue the party in the hotel lobby on Discord for a bonus hour of popcorn. It's a great place to hang out when the parents aren't watching on YouTube. Hi, Mom. On behalf of the eFinance Daily General Discussion and the EV Mavericks DAO, my name is JT. Cheers and big hugs from Kansas.